Greetings viewer, welcome! So you want to install the LCN 4040 XP Super Smooth Closure? Well, you're in luck. The YouTube search algorithm has worked in your favor. Stay tuned. Okay, let's open this up. Inside you'll find the layout template for the closure body and the closure shoe. A bag of through bolts, the closure shoe arm, the closure shoe, bag of assorted installation screws, the closure body arm, and we have the instructions. We will need those too. The closure cover, and inside that, the closure body. This installation will be of the parallel arm configuration set for 180 degrees. You want the closure to be inside the room, not in the hallway or outside of the room. Tape the instructions to the door on the side the closure will be installed. You don't want to make a mistake here. You'll end up with 8 holes in your door. The layout template they sent, a little hinge design on the edge. Hold that to the edge of the door on the hinge side, but this is important. Hold it flush to the door stop, not the door edge. If you hold it to the door edge, it'll be too high and the arms will hit the door stop when you try to open the door. Remember that. This is a parallel arm. It's going to be held to the face of the door stop, not the top of the door. Mark the 4 holes with a punch, and then take a Sharpie and just dot those 4 holes so you can see it a little bit clearer. We were using a 12-inch combination square and a 6-inch combination square to transfer a layout to the other side of the door. You don't want to measure. The bevel of the door will throw you off about 1/8 of an inch. So set the 12-inch combination square to the lower layout, and the blade is as wide as the width of the layout, which is good. So square across now with the 6-inch one and transfer those layout there. The 6-inch combination square, set it to the depth of the second set of layout, but we still have to use the 12-inch square to help transfer the width of the layout across to the other side. There we have the 12-inch square to show you the left and the right of the hole, but I'm using the 6-inch one to get a general area where it's going to be, where I mark it, so I'm not drawing lines all over the place. Just little check marks within the area wide enough that you know the head of the through bolts will still hide it. Then highlight those. Then pop those with your punch also. The closure shoe, we're still going to use the template, but we're going to fold it at the folding point for when it's against the door stop. You have the distance for the door jamb and a point there that you fold it if you're going to hold it against the door stop. But we're going to mark one hole, the first hole we're going to pop, and then we're going to highlight that with a pencil, because we're going to use the shoe to lay out 4 holes. So you're going to have 5 holes in all. And just use the shoe, hold the shoe in about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the stop, and mark out those remaining holes. Remember, rotate it the correct way. If it's the wrong way, the shoe will hit the door when it's on. So make sure you're going the right orientation on that, and you end up having to drill more holes again. Mark those out with the center punch. Then use your 1/8 bit to drill through, make a pallet hole. But for this situation, for me, I'm just going to drill through the skin of the door. This frame is filled with concrete, so I'm not going to drill through the metal backing that's there. I don't want my good bit hitting concrete. Use the self-tapping machine screws that they send as a drill bit to finish drilling through the closure back end. Let those hit concrete. It's a lot better than destroying your good drill bit. Feel free to use 1 per hole. There's enough in here for 1 for each hole. You don't have to struggle using 1 for all 5 holes. It'll get dull after the first hole anyways once it hit concrete. Then after that, use a masonry bit, probably about 3/16, a little less, and clean out the drill out deep enough and wide enough for the screws to fit. They're not top guns. You don't want them biting too much concrete. They'll break. Drilling out for the closure body on the door, we're going to be using a 3/8 paddle bit. We'll drill on the closure side first, not the through bolt side, the closure side first, and we're going to drill about halfway into the door. Then we're going to drill on the through bolt side second and complete the drill in. If there's a blowout, it'll be behind the closure and the closure cover. The blowout on the head side is not going to be covered up too well. Now all the drilling is complete. Let's install this closure. Start off with the through bolts, insert those, and use a protection to finish setting them in using your hammer. You don't want to scratch the heads up. These are finished product you're working with, not used. Next, let's install the closure shoe. We're going to use those self-tapping machine screws that we use as drill bits. There's 4 small ones and a medium-sized one. The medium-sized one is for that 5th hole. Usually that 5th hole hangs over beyond the door stop. And there's a black spacer that's in for that, but in this situation the stop is wide enough for all 5 holes for me to not use that spacer. Time to install the closure to the body of the door. But first we need to turn the screw in that's on the back of the closure all the way in. This is because it's a parallel arm installation. If this was a standard arm installation, you leave that screw alone. Then use the 4 remaining machine screws. They're about 2 1/4 inch long. Use those to secure the closure to the door. Those will bite into the through bolts. Don't over tighten these screws. They'll draw the through bolts head into the door and it's not a pretty sight. Even steel doors can leave an indentation if you over tighten these screws. Once it's painted, you'll see the reflection of the dimple in the door. Attaching the arm now to the closure body. Hold the closure arm parallel with the door and turn this closure spindle until it sits down in the first notch. You don't want to go to the second notch. Once you release it, that closure arm should be into the door. If it's parallel with the door when you release it, you did it wrong. You need to go 1 more notch. Secure that arm now with the supplied screw. Now if you look at the shoe arm, it's offset. If the offset is away from the hinge, it gives you more closure power. If it's towards the hinge, it gives you less closure power, but we can then reach the 180 degree with the door opening, which is what we're going to hold. We're going to hold it. Use the 2 little mini screws they send. It's just deep enough to be flush to the back of the shoe. Install the screw in the fixed side first and then screw in the elongated hole second. That way you don't have to worry about aligning them up. Now slide the 2 arms together as you slowly close the door. You don't want to close the door, you won't be able to get them in. So you have to do it as you close the door. I'm going to use the black shim that I didn't use as a spacer near the end of the closure. That'll give me my distance of the closure arm off the face of the door. And then I'm going to lock down that placement there. Once I remove the spacer, which it'll fall anyways when I'm tightening that hex head screw, that'll give me a distance of the closure arm from the door for this LCN closure. Some closures are different. Sometimes they're 1.5 inches to the center of the spindle. Now that the closure is installed, time to adjust the setting. We'll start with a back check. You want to give that about 5 to 10 pounds of opening force. The power level we'll leave alone. That is on number 3. You want the door to close in about 8 seconds from 90 degree to latch. So set it to about 6 seconds of door speed and 2 seconds of latch speed. On the end of the closure on the tube, there's a sticker tape there that instructs you as to which screw does what. Once you're satisfied with the closure setting, install the closure cover. These are the quick clip-on types. I like these style. You have just installed your LCN 4040 XP Super Smooth closure. There's a few things to be aware of in the field or wherever you're installing this closure that might be pertinent. 1, check your door opening, 90 degree, 80 degree, see how far the door can go and make sure you use the correct setting. You don't want the door to hit things where you can't put a door stop for. Make sure there's no screw-on seal that's going to be installed on the face of the door stop, because that will affect the distance that you hold your closure down. You need to bring your template down even lower to allow for that once you start laying out. Mag locks. Will the door get a mag lock? Make sure you're leaving enough room from where you're going to place the closure. You're leaving enough room for the mag lock to fit. You're thinking, I can set this door for 90 degree. Yeah, I'm okay. That puts the closure more to the center of the door. It takes up a lot of room once the arm gets on. That might eat up any space that maglac needs. If your door is getting a maglac, you're going to have to hold a closure all the way to the left as best as you can. Those maglacs are kind of wide. Once you fine tune your setting, you have your 8 seconds of door speed, 2 seconds of latch speed, 10 pounds of pressure, opening force, 5 pounds of opening force. All of that will change once the closure acclimates to the AC, and it'll change again once test and balance has finished their work. Your mess. Clean up your mess once you're done. You just left a whole bunch of metal shavings on the ground. You have finished floor there, carpet, vinyl floor. These are finished product you're working over. Clean it up right away as soon as you're done so you don't get tracked in and grounded everywhere. If you're outside and you're installing this closure and the door opens out to a walkway, clean that area up too, especially on the walkway. The metal shavings is going to rust. The hand of your door, whether you want to know if you're working on a left hand or right hand. A quick, easy way to do this is to put your butt to the butt, which is your back to the hinge. Open your arms, left hand. If that's the way the door goes, left hand. If the door opens to your right, that's a right hand. Don't worry about left hand reverse, right hand reverse. That's usually only needed for the keying of locks. Remember, for the LCN, that screw in the back is only to be screwed in if it's a parallel arm. You leave it alone if it's a regular arm. Don't mess with it. Thank you for your time.